Assertive, charismatic, shimmering. Some people seem to have this natural authority that makes them the perfect leader on the surface, because when looking behind the facade, you'll realize that all that glitters is not gold. For some reason, after interacting with them, you feel a little less worthy, inadequate, silly. It's often hard to grasp, but you have a bad gut feeling on your way to work and feel low on energy when being around them. These people know exactly which buttons to push to make you question your sanity and intimidate you. What I'm referring to are certain types of people who are part of the dark triad. And if you think you may have a boss or a coworker who fits that description, stay tuned, because here are 5 statements that may reveal a narcissistic boss. Hey there, welcome to the Flow Lab channel, where we discuss psychology, mental fitness, and peak productivity. My name is Ava, and I'm a psychologist and head of content at Flow Lab. If you're new to this channel, we have a mental fitness app that helps you develop focus, self-confidence, and productive flow states more often by training the necessary mental skills with science-backed guided meditations. Check out the description for a 50% discount code off the yearly subscription and, of course, the download link to the app. Also, if you like our content, make sure to like and subscribe and hit the bell to get notified when we upload new videos. We really appreciate your support. The higher you walk up the ladder, the more you'll be surrounded by narcissists. Working with one is difficult on so many levels. They can't take criticism and believe they don't need any feedback, which makes them extremely hard to deal with if you have a shared project. But apart from the outcome, the interactions leave their marks too. While a healthy dose of narcissism can be facilitative in the workplace as people seem more self-confident and charismatic, in the extreme form, it can alienate and hurt others. Many people think of narcissism as something rare and obvious, of arrogance and selfishness. And yes, narcissistic people make us feel unworthy and inadequate. But they can also make us feel the opposite, flattered, admired, appreciated. Narcissists can be smart and charming. They can tell captivating, vivid stories, and they can come across as self-reflective and sensitive even when they're not. That's why in practice, they're not always easy to identify. If you repeatedly have problems with that one coworker or boss and wonder whether they might be narcissistic, listen up, because today I'll discuss 5 common statements of narcissists you should look out for. In psychology, people with a narcissistic personality disorder are described as showing a pervasive pattern of grandiosity, need for admiration, and lack of empathy. Generally, they feel special, need a lot of attention, and have fantasies about their success, beauty, and brilliance. They believe that they are so special that only other special, prestigious people can understand them. I once had a narcissistic boss who fantasized about the Dalai Lama praising his great work. Narcissists act to their own advantage, even if this means exploiting others. They are so self-absorbed that they won't see other people's needs. Of course, it's important to be cautious and not to jump to hasty conclusions when having an issue with someone at work. Narcissism is nowadays seen as a dimension and not a category. So even if some of the statements apply to someone you know, it won't necessarily mean they're a pathological narcissist. Just keep that in mind when we now dive deeper into a few examples of how narcissism can show itself in the workplace.
I never said that. You must be dreaming again.
Do you have misunderstandings surprisingly often, but only with your boss or that one coworker? For allegedly unexplainable reasons, you talk cross purposes, or the other swears you didn't ask them to take care of that task, even if you did. It's not uncommon that narcissists use so-called gaslighting when being accused of wrong or hurtful behavior. They insist they never said that, or that you must be confused. This can happen once or twice, where you'll think, okay, this was apparently a misunderstanding. But over time, with more and more of these situations where there's not only an issue, but you're told to be the crazy one, the one who's ungrateful or confused things with an unwavering conviction, it may be that self-doubt creeps up on you and you begin to wonder whether there's some truth to it. They take you for a fool by rolling their eyes and saying something like,
"Again, it's like this."
Or,
"Let me tell you once more."
As if you don't understand the simplest facts. They lie and manipulate in a way that you start questioning your sanity. Did I really say that, or is it my blurred memory? Perhaps they're right and I wasn't clear enough. At some point, you may even struggle to focus on your task because you're scared of making a mistake. You feel watched and evaluated at all times. One thing you should ask yourself is, do you have these kinds of misunderstandings with many people, or for some reason only with this person? Do other people have these weird misunderstandings with that person too?
I could have done it, but of course no one asked me.
Certainly, a narcissistic boss will emphasize how great, smart, good-looking, or successful they are. They know better, they crave admiration from others, and they admire themselves. They won't miss out on an opportunity to highlight their felt superiority by saying things like,
"So when I studied at Yale,"
or
"when I cruised around with my Tesla the other day."
And since they feel admirable and special, they also expect special treatment. Have you ever heard your boss or coworker say something like,
"Tell the CEO that I'm the one who wants to talk to him. I'm sure he'll find the time."
Of course, they won't hesitate to take credit for success. They believe they played a key role in the success and will most likely tell you that too. While their ego is highly inflated, their self-esteem is in fact very fragile. When you challenge them or question their thoughts only a tiny bit, they'll be easily hurt. They'll fire back and degrade others' competence. Which brings us to point number 3. If you look closely, you'll see that a narcissistic boss or coworker won't be able to genuinely apologize after a mistake. It may seem as if they apologized, but they rather feel sorry for you feeling bad or for things turning out this way, rather than actually taking responsibility for their actions. They have numerous tactics to make them stand in a good light. Sometimes they'll use what is called blame shifting and blame it on you. They would never have done this if you acted differently. They had no other choice but to act this way. Or even better, they turn it around and accuse you of the exact same thing they did. Be sure that they're masters in spinning narratives. They bring up unrelated details and stories to confuse you and come around with old and already solved issues and offenses you made in the past. They make you feel guilty by telling you why you should be grateful and can't appreciate their efforts with statements like,
"After everything I've done for you, this is how you repay me?"
or
"You'll never be satisfied, right? Don't you appreciate how much I did for you?"
And they play the victim card, which makes it hard to stay persistent and not feel guilty for accusing the narcissist of that mistake.
This is a story everyone should hear.
Narcissists love to hear themselves talking. They interrupt others to hog conversations and tell their story with an enormous richness of detail. And often they can be very captivating in their storytelling. They embellish a story with suspenseful or exciting elements, no matter how basic the storyline actually is. And of course, they're the main character of that story. I remember when I listened to a 20 minutes long story about how a narcissist made a sandwich. They can't help but think that their life, their stories, their opinions are interesting and relevant for everyone. Ridiculous as it may sound, in a self-test on narcissistic tendencies, you'll also find items such as, "I think it is important that my contacts receive updated photos of me. If my stomach were upset, I would post that information on a social media website such as Twitter," or "I talk loudly on my smartphone when in public places." In the workplace, a narcissist may tell a colorful story about the company's vision or fantasies about their own success. And yes, this can be motivating and thrilling, because if you believe them, you feel that you become part of something big too, part of this great mission the narcissist told you about. On the flip side, when you are the one telling a story, it won't take long until the other will hog the story again. In a meeting, it can be hard to make a point when a narcissist keeps talking and believes that they don't need any feedback from others. They won't listen or take you seriously anyway. Is it somehow familiar to you? Do you know someone who, on the one hand, is a master in storytelling, while on the other, showing only little interest in the stories of others? Are there people at your job who frequently interrupt others and always try to be the center of attention in a conversation or meeting? Another red flag you should keep in mind is when your boss or coworker makes many jokes at the expense of others. And of course, it's also about how they say it. In psychology, there are different types of humor that we also touch upon in one of our videos on perfectionism. Self-enhancing humor lets you stand in a favorable light. Self-defeating humor is when you make jokes on your cost. Affiliative humor are jokes that are at nobody's expense and strengthen the relationship to the other person, while the last one, aggressive humor, comes at other people's cost. A narcissistic boss or coworker finds your weak spot and doesn't hold back to humiliate you in front of others. They sometimes use hurtful nicknames like Chubby Charlotte. And when you ask them to stop that, they'll likely make you feel bad about your feelings, downplay their behavior, and tell you that you shouldn't be so upset about something so petty. Apparently, you just can't take a joke. Some narcissists may use more subtle jokes, for example, by correcting you in an allegedly harmless way. Let me read out one example from the book Narcissism in the Workplace. The author describes it like this. During a meeting, one of the members said, "I like this new candidate. She's very practical-minded. That's one reason she studied business administration at Ohio State University." A narcissist in the group responded with a smirk, "I think you are referring to the Ohio State University." Narcissists have little or no empathy and often act immaturely, like making inappropriate jokes during serious meetings. Yes, generally, jokes at the expense of others don't always have to be taken seriously. But it depends on how close the other is to you, isn't it? A friend who knows you well and teases you a bit is different from a boss making fun of you in front of your colleagues. So, as you see, working with a narcissist can be extremely energy draining. But knowing about common behaviors and strategies a narcissistic boss or coworker falls back on can help to reveal them and stay true to yourself. While it's generally important to make compromises and condone misconduct, it's just as important to set boundaries and speak up for your needs. If you're interested in learning more about how to deal with a narcissistic boss, give this video a thumbs up and let me know in the comments, then we can dive into that topic too. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the bell to get notified when we upload new videos in the future. I wish you all the best, have a great day, and see you in the next video.
Also erstens, grobes Versagen.